So I'm calling this conversation before you commit suicide. And I don't even know if this is appropriate to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it because it's something that's on my heart and it's something that means a lot to me because in 2011, I was at what I thought was the end of my ropes. And just to be honest, life wasn't that kind to me back then. Let me tell you what I mean by life wasn't that kind to me. Well, at the age of 7, I had a near death experience. I was riding in the back seat of my mother's vehicle, looking out the side window. And as we get ready to cross a junction in the road, light was green for us. I'm looking out the window, and bam, my life completely changed. Our vehicle was struck by a red Cherokee Jeep, and it knocked us in a circle. Around and around we went, and there was blood coming everywhere. And that was one of my first memories that I remember of my life. And it was a memory that shaped the story that I would tell myself for 27 years. Okay? Not to mention, even though those physical scars healed in my face, because I had a plug knocked out of my head, even though those physical scars healed, I came to understand very quickly that I was living in a very abusive household. My father was an alcoholic that gambled, and he beat my mother every time he had a bad day. And that was our life. We grew up in that over and over and over again. So pretty much life was training me to play the role of a victim. It was, oh, woe me. Robbie, why didn't you do the homework? Well, because I'm not that smart, because I got hit in the face by a truck when I was 7. Robbie, why didn't you do the homework? Well, it was because my father was beating on my mother last night. So I used those things as an excuse to justify why I wasn't doing as well as I could have been doing. And the more I use those things that happened to me in my life as an excuse as to why I wasn't doing as well as I could have been doing, the deeper and deeper I started to live from that foundation, from that story, from that narrative. And basically, although all these things were true, it was true that I had a near-death experience at the age of 7. It was very true that my father was an alcoholic that gambled away our money religiously. And he was very abusive, physically abusive to my mother. When I say physically abusive, I mean very violent, okay? Very violent. All of these things were true, but what those things taught me is that if I used those stories in different settings, it would gain me empathy from people. And that empathy will allow people to feel sorry for me. And because they felt sorry for me, I kind of got what I wanted. Well, that didn't last always, because at the age of 16, my father passed away from a heart attack. And I'm going to be honest with you. People don't like when I say this in my family, probably, but it was one of the best days of my life, because up until that point, I lived in fear of my father. I was very afraid of him. So when he passed, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't have to live in fear of him anymore. But I remember using all of the things that I went through as an excuse to be a tough guy. And therefore, I started running with a group of guys, a gang, if you will. Okay. And I'm telling you all this because I want you to know that when I tell you about the power of self-mastery, I'm coming from a place of understanding. I'm coming from the bottom. What you see now is the end result of an individual that at the end of my life, when I decided that at age 27 I was going to take my own life, I realized that nothing was working out for me. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to take my own life. And all of a sudden, as I'm thinking about how I'm going to do it, this thought entered my mind. Robbie, Are you sure you're ready to go? And I'm really just talking to myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Have you given it your all? I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I've given it my all. And my conscience was speaking back to me like, no, you haven't given it your all. And I'm like, what do you mean I haven't given it my all? I've tried everything. And this thought came across my awareness. Have you tried living as if you are 100% responsible for the quality of your life experience? And when I sat with that question, all of these excuses came up. No, because my father did this, and because I went through this, and because this happened, and this happened, and this happened. None of those things were my fault. So how am I going to take responsibility for those things? These are the thoughts that are running around in my mind, but I know that I'm having these thoughts for a reason. So let me entertain this more. And what I discovered is that in order for me to live as if I'm 100% responsible for the quality of my life experience, I had to stop blaming other people for my circumstances. The only reason I didn't take my own life is because I started having this internal dialogue with myself. And the only reason why I'm standing in front of you or sitting in front of you right now today is because I challenged my own consciousness. I challenged the universe, if you will. And I said, okay, fine. I'll live for the next couple of months as if I'm 100% responsible for the quality of my life experience. And that was a big challenge because what that meant is that I couldn't blame anyone for anything, no matter how good it was or no matter how bad it was. It all was on me. Now, you might be hearing that and thinking to yourself, how does blaming yourself for something help you? And it's not about blaming yourself for anything. It's about owning it. It's in your reality, so you own it. Because the moment you own what's happened to you is the moment you can change your perception about what's happened to you. You see, if I don't own what's happened to me, I'm giving the external world more power, more control over my life than I have. And I realized that was the way I'd been living up until that point. The only reason I wanted to take my own life is because I didn't believe I was capable of living anything better. The moment I started to live as if I was 100% responsible for the quality of my life experience was the moment that things started to change. Not physically, but internally. Because up until that point, I was a very depressed soul. You have to get to the point to where you are literally emotionally hurting so bad, or you're just completely numb to ever think about taking your own life. And that's where I was up until that point. And so for the first time in my life, I started to take responsibility for the quality of my life experience. And from there, I learned how to love myself because I learned how to forgive. And I'm here to let you know that maybe there's something in your world that you might need to forgive in order to heal so that you can feel feelings other than fear, feelings other than pain. I call it forgive everyone and everything. I call it control yourself and free the world. How do you do that? Well, we're all driven by emotions. Even us manly men are driven by emotions. Our emotions dictate the way we behave. And it also influences the way we think and vice versa. So what I discovered is that I needed to go inside of myself and forgive. And you might be saying, Robbie, you don't understand. This person did this to me. That person did that to me. I can't forgive them. And I would say, I completely understand. I understand. But I'm also here to let you know that if you don't forgive them, they will control you until the day you are no longer on the earth. And do you really want to live that way? I don't think you do. You don't really want to live that way. You want to be emotionally free. Okay? So before you do something that you can't reverse, I encourage you to place your hand on your heart, close your eyes, and I want you to feel inside of your body. From your head to your feet, become keenly aware of what you feel. Allow all the emotions to come up, and no matter what comes up, I want you to repeat, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. Please know that forgiveness is not about forgiving the person. Forgiveness is about forgiving the emotions related to that person. And you don't even have to know what emotions are tied to what person and what person are tied to what emotions. Just feel for the emotion and forgive that emotion. Doesn't mean you have to like that person again. Doesn't mean you have to hang out with that person again. It just means that you are choosing to let go of this emotional burden that is controlling how you think and feel. I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. You can still choose not to deal with a person, not to mess with a person, not to talk to a person. You don't have to worry about doing anything you don't want to do. This is about forgiving because this is going to be beneficial to you. I forgive you. Forgive you. I forgive you. And this is not about one session. You might have to do this multiple days, multiple weeks in a row. How long do you do it? Until you get to the point to where you are no longer being weighed down by these emotions that make you want to take your own life. Forgive every single person in place and thing that has ever done you wrong, not for their sake, but for your sake. Do it because you deserve to be emotionally free. You deserve to feel alive again. You deserve to feel good about yourself. Love yourself. Forgive yourself. Give it 30 days. Forgive yourself for the next 30 days. Forgive everybody for the next 30 days. And then come back to this video, comment, and let me know what you feel. Do it for 30 days, 5 minutes a day. And I promise you, you'll want to live another day. Master yourself. It's Robbie Cornelius, always encouraging you to master your mind and make money online.